Good evening, everyone. Am I audible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, welcome to week 6 of control engineering course. Uh, as of now, let me share my screen. Uh, so, as of now, we have learned about how to compute the transfer function of a system and analyze the system in time domain, and how what are the and, find the time domain specifications for a given system. That means a second order system. Then you learned about what is proportional integral, proportional derivative, and PID controllers, right? And also you have learned about the stability of the system. What is the stability, and how do you calculate the find the stability of a given transfer function, right? Uh, So how do you calculate the stability of the system? Let's suppose we are having a system with open loop transfer function g of s. This is y of s. Then feedback transfer function h of s. So how do you compute the stability of the system? How do you know? How do you know the whether a system is given system is stable or not? By first calculate the closed loop transfer function, whether it is a unity feedback or non-unity feedback. That means h of x is 1 in case of unity feedback. So you do calculate the compute the transfer function of the given system, that is g of s divided by 1 plus g of s into h of s, right? So this is called the characteristic equation of the system. And what you do, you compute the poles of the system. That means the roots of the characteristic equation, right? Uh, so find the roots or poles. Poles is nothing but roots of the characteristic equation. So based on the location of the poles, you say that whether the system is stable or not. Suppose poles on the left half of the S-plane, then we say that system is unstable. Sorry, stable. If it is in this direction, it is unstable. And if it is on the imaginary axis, then it is marginally stable. That means oscillatory behavior, sustained oscillations, right? But for us to find the poles of the equation, we need to calculate the roots of the characteristic polynomial, right? So, how do you calculate the roots of a given polynomial? Um, so, if it is a first order system, that means the characteristic polynomial is of order 1, then do directly equate to 0. Then, if it is a second order system, you have the closed loop formula like minus b plus or minus b square minus square root of b square minus 4ac by 2a, right? For second, third order and fourth order, you have some closed loop formulas, but they are complex. But above fourth order, you don't even have a closed loop formula. So in that case, how do you calculate the roots of the closed loop system? Root, so that directly indicate the poles of the system. So this is where actually the root Hurwitz criteria. which actually uh, gives you sufficient conditions for stability of the system without knowing the root, calculating the roots of the characteristic equation. Okay, so the first we analyze what are the necessary and sufficient conditions for stability. Let's first go through the necessary conditions. So given a characteristic polynomial, that is 1 plus g of s h of s, in the form of given, let's say p of s is 1 plus g of s, the necessary conditions are none of the quotients of characteristic equation should be missing or zero. Are you getting what I am telling? None of the quotients are should be missing or zero. It shouldn't be zero, right? Okay. The second one is all the quotients should have same sign. So these are the necessary conditions. That means if you are given, you know the system is stable. Let's for example, then the characteristic equation. If you see the characteristic equation should have any missing terms, no missing terms, and all the quotients should be of same sign. So if any of this condition is failed, that means you can directly say that the system is unstable. Okay. Um, let's say, for example, if P of S is in the form factored form, that is P of S means the characteristic equation is of the form an into S plus P1, S plus P2, etc. S plus Pn. Let's say, for example, this is a factored form of polynomial, characteristic polynomial. Then, after expanding, how it looks like a power an into S power n plus sum of pi's into s power n minus 1 plus sum of pi pj s power n minus 2 plus sum of pi pj pk s power n minus 3 etc. And the last term will be product of all the p's p1 p2 p3 etc. pn. Is it? Are you agreeing with me? Let's say, for example, one second order case. Let's say, for example, if the s plus polynomial is of form s plus 1 into s plus 2, how do you expand this one? S square plus 1 plus 2 into s plus 1 into 2, right? Like that, if it is having three another term like s plus 3, then it will be s cube sum of all the three p1 p1 p2 p3 into s plus product of all two terms, then p1 p2 p3, like that. So okay, so if given that system is stable means that pi's, these pi's are greater than zeros, right? Given system is stable, that means PIs are greater than 0, strictly greater than 0. Is it right? That means if Pi is greater than then S plus Pi is equal to 0 means S is equal to minus P. That is on the left half of the S plane. So if Pi's are greater than 0, then each of these terms, this one should be greater than 0, this one should be greater than 0, and this one should be greater than 0. Right? That is what. So there is no missing term. There is no cancellation among all these terms because all are of um, because all are greater than 0. Right? And also there won't be any missing terms. Um, there won't be any missing term because all PIs are non-zero, and also uh, because all are positive terms, there should be same sign positive, right? So, but can we say if a statistic equation, let's say for example, s cube plus s square plus 2s plus 8 equal to 0. Let's say, for example, if we say this is here, it is satisfying all the necessary conditions, right? All the quotients are positive and there are no missing terms here. Can we say this is a stable or not? But it is not stable because the roots of these equations are s is equal to minus 2 and 0.5 plus or minus j 1.936. You can verify this one later. So that means we can't guarantee. This is unstable, right? The positive real part. That means the system is unstable. So that means we can't guarantee. These are only the necessary conditions. If the system is stable, definitely these two conditions will satisfy. So then how can you find the whether the system is stable or not? So in this case, you root Hurwitz criteria that helps you find whether the system is stable or not without calculating the roots of the statistic polynomial. It has actually computing, assessing the sufficient, finding the sufficient conditions uh, using RH criteria involves two steps actually. First one is um, generate root array, root array, and the second one is um interpret or find the sign changes in first column of root array. I will tell you what is the root array and how do you compute, and then second one is uh, how to find the sign changes and what are the special cases in this case. Okay. So what actually it says that the necessary condition for the stability is if there is no sign change in the first column of root array, then we call that the system is stable. Let us suppose the characteristic polynomial is of form. Let us, I'm saying P of S is of the form an s power n plus a n minus 1 s power n minus 1 plus a n minus 2 s power n minus 2 plus etc. a a naught is your characteristic polynomial. Characteristic polynomial means it is the closed loop denominator polynomial of the closed loop transfer function. Okay. So first you construct root array. Root array is first you start with s power n, s power n minus 1, s power n minus 2, s power n minus 3, etc. s naught. Okay. Then next is you arrange these coefficients in this array in like this fashion. First a n minus 1, a n minus 2, a n minus 3, a n minus 4, a n minus 5, like that. Okay. So then you have to fill up these array elements, like this is b n minus 1, b n minus 2, b n minus 3. This is c n minus 1, c n minus 2, c n minus 3, etc. So where bn and cn are calculated like this. Let's bn minus 1 is equal to the product of these two terms minus product of these two terms divided by this one. That means bn minus 1 is a n minus 1 into a n minus 3 minus, sorry, a n minus 1 into a n minus 2 minus a n into a n minus 3 divided by a n minus 1. Okay. Then bn minus 1, bn minus 2 will be product of a n minus 1 into a n minus 4 and the product of a n into product of a n and a n minus 5. That means bn minus 2 is a n minus 1 into a n minus 4 minus a n into a n minus 5 divided by a n minus 1. Like this, you complete all the elements. Is it clear? So the same thing for the case of Cn minus 1, you have to do operate between these two and these two, like this here and this one. So in this way, you have to complete all the elements of the root array, and then you have to examine the first uh, first column signs of first column elements. So if there is any sign change here, that indicates that there is a root on the right half of the S plane. That means number of sign changes is equal to sign changes in first column equal to number of roots in the right half of the S plane. Okay, RSH. So this way you can compute the number of roots which are in the right half of the S plane, and hence we can analyze the stability of the system. Let's take one simple example. It is given that the characteristic equation P of S is equal to 2s power 4 plus 10s cube plus 5s square plus 5s plus 2 equal to 0. Then root area we can compute by formulating like this: s power 4 till s naught. Okay, s square, s power 1, s naught. Then alternatively you have to put these quotients: 2, 10, 5, 5, 2. Now this one will be the product of this one and this minus this one divided by this 10. That means, let's example, this is 3. That means is 50 minus 15 divided by 10. That means this is 35. 35 by 10 means 3.5. And here this is 10 into 2, 20 by 3 into 0. We can make it 0. 3 into 0 divided by 10. That means 2. You will get 2 here. Then for S1, you need to do the same thing. 3.5 into 5 minus 10. That means 17.5 minus 20 divided by 3.5. And this will be 0. Then this is 2. Okay. So here this 17 minus this value will be equal to minus 2.5 by 3.5. That means there is a sign change here to here and from here to here. That means there are two sign changes. That means there are two poles on the right half of the exponent. So the system is unstable. So like this, Hurwitz criteria helps to find whether the system is stable or not and how many roots are on the right half of the exponent. There are some corner cases happen, special cases, while constructing this root area. Let's say, for example, if there might be one element completely zero. In this case, how to do? So, if an element is completely zero, special case one, if one element of the first row, the first column is zero, if one element in the first row, sorry, in the first column is zero, then replace it with small positive number epsilon. With a small number epsilon and continue the remaining, complete the remaining array of the root array. Let's say, for example, if you have transfer function like closed loop characteristic equation like this, 2s power 4 plus s cube plus 2s square plus s plus 20 equal to 0, then your root array will be like this: s square, s cube, s square. Yes, and yes, not. So this will be 2, 1, 2, 1, 20. Here it is 0, right? 2 minus 2, 0. That means your, so here this is 0. So you replace this one with small epsilon and continue with this. Complete the remaining array. Now this next means epsilon into 1 means epsilon minus 20 by epsilon. And this will be 0. Then here it is 20. Okay. So then how do you find the SSR stabilities? Let assume that limit epsilon tends to 0. Let's say 0 plus. What is the value of this one? If epsilon tends to 0, then epsilon minus 20 by epsilon will be negative, minus 20. Right? That means there is a sign change from here to here and from here to here. So the system is unstable. Okay. So the next case is another special case. Let's assume the entire row is completely zeros. So in this root array, suppose if one row any of this row is completely zero. In that case, how do you complete the remaining portion of the root array? So in this case, what you have to do is, this kind of situation happens only when you have a um, if you have a even polynomial as a one of the factor of the characteristic equation. What is the even polynomial? So you get this kind of situation when there is a even polynomial which is one of the factor of the your characteristic equation. Even polynomial means, let's say for example, one example is, let's say s power 4 plus some 2s square plus 5. That means this is p of s. That means if in this case, if r is, that means p of minus s also the same thing, right? S power 4 plus 2s square plus 5. So if r is a root of the equation, if r is a root of this polynomial p of s, then minus r also root of this polynomial. That means you will have symmetric roots if you have a even polynomial. That means how the symmetric roots looks like. So symmetry can be anything. Like it can be, if it is a root here, there is another root here, or if it is a root here on the imaginary axis, there is another root here on the exactly opposite on the imaginary axis, or it can be roots like this. This is 1, 2, 3. So these are the uh, ways in which the symmetric roots can will have symmetric roots for a even polynomial. Since even polynomial is a factor for the characteristic equation, so we need to find not only uh, whether the system is not only whether the system is stable or not by examining the first column of the root array, but also we have to find the roots of the this even polynomial also. Then only you can conclude. See, if you, in this case 1 and, by seeing the poles of this case 1 and case 3, it is directly unstable, right? Because there are roots at the right of the S plane. But here in this case, the roots are on the marginal, on the imaginary axis, means they are marginally stable. So how do you first, how do you construct a root array? How do you complete a root array if there is a entire row is completely zero? In this case, first what we have to do is we have to form an auxiliary polynomial, that is a even polynomial. First you construct that even polynomial and then derive differentiate that even polynomial with respect to s. Then you find the quotients of that differentiation, that will give you the that using the quotients of those things we will complete the remaining part of the root array. Let's take one example and I will tell you how to do this. Are you getting any doubt? Hello?
No, ma'am, no doubts.
You're getting right what I'm telling?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let us take a one characteristic polynomial like this. Then to compute root array, one thing actually, if entire row is a multiple of something, then we can replace this one with common elements. Like we can divide entire row by 2 because 2 is a multiple for this one, and we can compute root array. Nothing, there is won't be any difference. Okay, I'm replacing this one with 168 for ease of my completion. Then we do complete this one. 1 into 8 minus 1 into 6 divided by 2, right? That means 8 minus 6, that means 2. Then 1 into 2, 20, that is 20 minus, sorry, 1 is 20 minus 8 divided by 2, you will get 12. Then again, this is 16 directly. That means this one and this one are same. Again, I'm replacing it with, after removing the common factors, it is 1, 6 and 8. So this row and this row both are same. Then what you will get here, if you compute, then everything will be 0. Right? So in this case, you need to form a auxiliary equation from the row above its one. That means s power 4 terms here, that is s power 4 plus 6s square plus 8 equal to 0. Now differentiate this with respect to s, then you will get 4s cube plus 12s equal to 0. Right? So these are the quotient for the fourth row. So in the fourth row, you have to replace with 4 and 12, and this is 0. Now again you compute the remaining term, it will be 3, 8, 1 by 3, 0, and this is 8. So this way you have to proceed to complete the root array. So, but here, how do you analyze the stability of the system? It is not only just the system stability based on the elements, sign changes in the first column. We also analyze the roots of this auxiliary equation also. Okay, because auxiliary equation has, it can have roots on the imaginary axis, but so in that case it is a marginally stable, right? And like that, if the ordinary equation may have roots on the right of the x plane, then in that case it is a unstable, even though even there are no sign changes here. So these two things you need to be analyzed. So for this case, the auxiliary equation, the roots of this auxiliary equations will be x square power 4 plus 4s square plus 2s square plus 8 equal to 0. That means s square into s plus 4 plus 2 into s square plus s square plus 8, 4 equal to 0. That means s equal to plus or minus 2j and plus or minus a square root 2. Okay, so that means the roots are on the imaginary axis for this auxiliary polynomial. So we say that this system is marginally stable. So you please remember this one. When the entire row is 0, then first what you need to do is you need to form a auxiliary equation and then find the roots of the auxiliary equation along with and then complete the root array by differentiating the auxiliary equation. Then check the sign changes as well as the roots of the auxiliary equation. Based on that, you say that the system is stable or not. Okay. So as of now, the root RH criteria helps to find whether the system is stable or not. and also helps to find how many roots on the right half of the X-plane. So this is equal to number of sign changes of first column, right? It also helps other than this one. Root RH criteria can be used to know if you have an open loop gain K, then what is the range of the K? Suppose if we have the your G of S will be of K into some numerator by denominator. That means open loop gain, or it can be a proportional controller gain, whatever it is. So this root RH criteria helps you find the range of K for which the system is stable. And also, if the system is under the marginal stable, what is the frequency of oscillations? That also it will help you to find the frequency of oscillation. So how do you do these two things? Let us take one open loop transfer function with unity feedback. G of S is equal to some K by S into S plus 3 into S square plus 2S plus 1. Then the characteristic equation will be 1 plus G of S equal to S square plus 3S into S square plus 2S plus 1 plus K equal to 0. So the goal is here, if the K is changing, then roots of this equation also will change, right? So in this case, the root RH criteria will give you what is the range of K for which the system is stable. Let's see how you can find this one. The overall characteristic equation for this one will be S power 4 plus 4S cube plus 4S square plus 3S plus K equal to 0. Then we will construct a root array. So this is 13 into 3, 39. By 4 minus 4K by 13 by 4, and this will be 0. And here it will be K, right? So now what is the condition for K such that this first entire column will be of positive, that means there are no sign changes. One should be, K should be greater than 0 based on this element, right? And the other one is this should be greater than 0. That means 39 by 39 minus 16 K by 4 should be greater than 0, or k should be greater than k should be greater than 39 by 4, right? So this is the range. That means the range for which the system is stable is 0 comma k comma 39 by 16. So so this is how we can get what is the range of the k. But also how do we calculate the frequency of oscillations? Let's say for example if k is equal to 39 by 6, then this entire row will be 0. That means it has a symmetric auxiliary equation with symmetric roots. That means the auxiliary equation here in this case is 39, 13 by 4 13 by 4 s square plus k equal to 0. Right? Where k is equal to 13 by 39 by 6. Equal to 0. That means 452 s square plus 39 equal to 0. So f is having the symmetric roots on imaginary axis whose value is 0.866. So the frequency of oscillations are simply 0.866 radians per second. Okay, so this is how you can find out if the system has uh, roots and the marginally stable case. That means roots and the imaginary cases. What is the frequency of oscillations, and we can also find the range of values of k at which the system is stable. Is it clear? What this is what root Hurwitz criteria won't answer is, so root Hurwitz criteria giving you the location of whether the system is stable or not. If the system is unstable, how many roots are on the right half of the S-plane, and what is the range of k for which the system is stable, and as well as if it is a marginally stable case, so what is the frequency of oscillation. But what it won't answer is, it does not answer where the closed loop poles are located, and what happens if the closed loop poles for the closed loop poles when k changing from some varying from some value to some other value. Let's say for example some 0 to 100. For a given k, what are the poles of the closed loop system? That also it won't tell, right? That means where the poles are located for a given k. So these are the questions it won't answer. So what is suppose instead of calculating the poles separately for each of k, wouldn't it be useful to have a single plot that shows the how the poles are moving as k changing from 0 to infinity, right? That is the plot called root locus plot. The root locus plot is basically a trajectory of trajectory or the locus of locus traced by closed loop poles as k changing from 0 to infinity. So this is exactly what root locus gives us. So this is very much important in designing controllers and all because it will tells you how the key because we actually design the PI controller whatever the proportional and proportional derivative or integral control PID controller. Here we will have the K term. So the K term how to choose the K because by taking different Ks the closed loop stability will be gets affected. So that is the reason we plot the root locus before designing the K values and analyze the system stability. Mm, what is the time now? Shall we continue? One thing, actually, this I will tell you some of the rules of this root locus. How do you plot? Few plots. Next class we will go through remaining rules and then we'll do some couple of examples for the root locus plot. Okay. So first, I'm not going through the theory behind the rules of these equations, but only rules. But I will tell you what all are the quickly summarize what are the rules, and then we'll uh, use these rules for computing root locus, plotting the root locus. So first thing is rule one. Root locus is a symmetric about the real axis, and number of branches equal to number of order of the characteristic polynomial. And the second rule will be suppose if you have a characteristic polynomial for third order, then you will have three branches for the root locus. Okay. Then the second point is all the branches start at open loop zeros open loop poles at k equal to 0 and ends at either open loop 0 or infinity at k equal to infinity. I will tell you an example of what is this meaning. All branches of root locus I'm calling this as RL. Root locus start at open loop poles at k equal to 0. That means at k equal to 0, the branch started the open loop pole and end at either open loop 0 or end at infinity at k equal to infinity. That means we are changing the role. We are examining the poles and zeros, how they are changing with respect poles with respect to k, right? K changing from 0 to infinity, right? So in this case, at k pole starts at root, pole started the root locus starts at poles of the open loop function at k equal to 0 and ends at open loop zeros or it ends at infinity at k equal to infinity. And the number of branches that terminate at or end at infinity are infinity is equal to number of poles minus number of zeros. Okay. And the third point is, suppose if you want to say the root locus is exist on real axis or not. So what we do is, let's say for example, this is a S plane, and suppose if you are given g of s, which is of numerator polynomial by denominator polynomial. So let's have these all are zeros, open loop zeros. These are open loop poles, right? First, what we have to do is we have to mark those open loop poles and zeros on the real axis or whatever it is. Then, suppose if there is a root locus exists any between any 2 points, what we have to do is to take some test point and points here. Is there any number of, is there any poles here? If the poles are zeros, sum of poles are zeros, right half of the test point is odd, then there exists a root locus up to that point, from the pole to that one. I'll give you one example. Let us suppose if g of s is equal to k into s plus 2 by some s into s plus 3 into s square plus 2s plus 1, or let's say 5. Other two. Then first, what is this? This is the open loop transfer function, right? First, we need to mark the poles and zeros of this open loop transfer function. That means we are having one pole at origin and another pole at -3 and one more pole. This has the roots like -1 plus or minus -g2. So that means this is -1, this is -2. So here there is a one root and here is one root. And here 1 0. at s equal to minus 2, right? So to find the existence of root locus on the real axis, what we have to do is take some test point on the real axis. Let's say, for example, here, if you take some test point, so the number of roots, poles and zeros, sum of poles and zeros to the right of this one is odd, then there exists a root locus on the real axis up to that point. That means since here there is only one point, you do not consider the roots on real and other roots, complex roots. Only roots on the real axis only you need to consider. The number of roots and poles in the real axis is there is up to this point is there is only one point one. So there is a up to this point 0. There is only one root that is odd, one pole that is odd. So there exists a root locus on the real axis. Now again, if you see in between these two, the number of poles and zeros are 2. One is here and another one is here. That means there is no root locus exists in between these two. Again, if you take here, so the number of roots on the real axis, number of poles and zeros on the real axis is 3, right? So this is an odd number, so you will have a root on the real axis that will extend up to infinity. So this is the root locus how looks like. So this is the third rule. Is it clear? Not getting any response. Yeah, let me know if you have, if it is not clear anywhere, please let me know.
Clear, ma'am.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. So we'll stop here. Then we will discuss the remaining rules of root locus, and then how do we plot the complete root locus in the next class. Is it fine? Is it okay?
Okay, ma'am.
By the way, how is the exam?
It was good, ma'am.
Good? Yeah, nice. Okay, I'll stop here. In the next class, we will discuss remaining rules and then plot the root locus.
Ma'am, today we don't have surprise test, right?
Yeah, right. Next class we will have.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Ma'am,
Ah,
is there any